So we all think we know what happened to Jeffrey Epstein, right? But what if the story we've been told is completely wrong? We're about to dive into a mountain of newly released documents. And honestly, they point to a story that is so bizarre, it's stranger than fiction. We're talking powerful people, hidden clues, and a potential conspiracy that could go back decades. You're gonna want to stick around for this. All right, let's just jump right in. For years, the big debate has been, was it suicide or was he murdered? But this huge drop of new documents, it throws a wild new theory into the mix, something way more shocking. What if he never actually died in that cell? What if the real story is that he was smuggled away? So you're probably asking, how did we even get to this point, right? I mean, this case seemed pretty much closed. How did it just burst wide open all over again? Well, to get that, we've got to rewind a bit, back to a pretty massive decision made in November of 2025. That's when everything changed. Okay, so get this. After a ton of pressure from like both sides of the aisle, a new law gets passed, and it basically forces the Department of Justice to open the floodgates and release all its non-classified files on Epstein. And listen, this wasn't just a small leak of info. It was a full-on tidal wave. We're talking 3 million documents, just boom, out in the open for everyone to see. And you can just imagine the frenzy of new theories and speculation that kicked off. And here's where the political drama really heats up. When Bill and Hillary Clinton get called to testify, everyone expects it to be behind closed doors, right? Secretive. But no, they completely flip the script. They actually demand a public hearing. Bill Clinton apparently says he's ready to tell absolutely everything. I mean, can you imagine? The move sent a massive shockwave through Congress. Suddenly, all of Washington, and really the whole world, is just holding its breath, waiting to see what they're going to say. Okay, so that's the big picture. But what's really fascinating is what's buried deep inside those millions of pages. We're talking about a single, tiny detail. A detail from the night Epstein supposedly died that nobody had ever heard before. And this one little thing? It basically throws a huge wrench into the entire official story. And that's where this new phrase comes into play. People aren't just debating suicide versus murder anymore. No, the new theory, the one that's really picking up steam because of these documents, is that he was smuggled away. And this whole idea is built on a bunch of super suspicious things that happened that night. Now, look, we all remember the weirdness from that night, right? The surveillance cameras that just happened to stop working, the guards who were supposedly asleep on the job, and his cellmate getting moved out right at the last second. Those have always been big question marks, but they just set the stage for this new piece of evidence, which is, honestly, it's truly bizarre. So here it is, the bombshell. Buried deep, deep in the investigators' logs from that night is a note that has never been public before. It says that at 10:39 p.m., someone, a figure in an orange prison jumpsuit, described only as an orange flash, was seen on a camera that was still working, heading up the stairs toward Epstein's sealed-off cell block. So, who was that? And maybe more importantly, why have we never, ever heard about this until now? Okay, so this smuggled away theory is starting to sound plausible, right? With this mysterious orange man. But hold on, because just when you think you have a handle on it, the story takes a hard left turn, goes international, all because of one single photograph that completely messes with everything we think we know. You've probably seen this picture. It went totally viral. It seems to show a man who was the spitting image of Jeffrey Epstein just strolling around alive and well with some heavy security in Tel Aviv. Now, for anyone who bought into the smuggled away theory, this photo was it. This was the smoking gun. Case closed. Except there's a pretty big problem. So how on earth do you make these two things fit together? They're completely contradictory. On the one hand, you've got this photo that screams, "He's in Israel." But then, in the document dump, there's an actual exchange where Deepak Chopra invites Epstein to Israel, even offers him a fake name to use, and Epstein just shuts it down. He literally writes back, "I don't like Israel." So, what gives? Which one is true? All right, just when you think this story has hit peak weirdness, and I mean, it cannot possibly get any stranger, it does. The source material takes all these threads, the documents, the orange flash, the photo in Tel Aviv, and weaves them into something else entirely. Something from over 50 years ago. A lavish, super cryptic, and just, frankly, a bizarre party. Yeah, to even begin to unpack this, we have to get in our time machine and go way, way back. The theory laid out here draws a straight line, not a dotted one, a straight one, from this infamous surrealist ball the Rothschilds threw back in 1972, all the way to the Epstein affair decades later. The claim isn't just that they feel similar, it's that they are directly connected.
So the theory goes like this. This party, it wasn't just a party. You had all these powerful people wearing these wild, kind of creepy masks, and the whole theme was reportedly about masters and servants. The idea is that this whole thing was actually a blueprint, a kind of test run for building a secret world of power and control, a world that sounds eerily similar to what's described in the Epstein files.
And that right there is the core claim. This is the big one. It's not just a weird coincidence. The argument is that this wild, surrealist night was, and I'm quoting here, the first rehearsal for Epstein's world. That the whole playbook Epstein would use later on, it was basically workshopped, fine-tuned at this party decades before he even came on the scene.
Okay, let's just take a breath and pull back for a second. Let's look at all the pieces we've just put on the board here. Because this is one seriously complex, tangled-up web of information, and it stretches across, what, half a century? I mean, just think about the roller coaster we've been on. We kicked off with this massive document dump. That led us to the Clintons basically demanding to go on stage and tell all. Then, boom, we're inside the prison staring at this mysterious orange flash. Then we're jetting off to Tel Aviv to look at a photo that makes no sense, and we end up all the way back in 1972 at some surrealist party that's now being called a rehearsal. It's a lot.
So in the end, after going through all this, the source material doesn't hand us a neat little answer. Not at all. Instead, it just leaves us with this one big, provocative question. When you see this many strange dots that all seem to connect, are you looking at a massive hidden conspiracy? Or is it all just a string of really, really bizarre coincidences? And that's the thing. It really forces you to think about how we even make sense of this stuff, how we build a story out of a flood of information. It leaves it up to you to decide what it all means.